the inside story on the issues that affect you and your community. This is Local 12 Newsmakers.
This is the sound of Cincinnati youth. This is the music of Price Hill. This is the creativity of my Cincinnati. Are we ready to listen? Good morning and welcome to Local 12 Newsmakers. I'm Dan Hurley. Sometimes I just stumble into something that is happening in our region that gives me hope for the future. Twice in the past year, I've had the privilege of hearing my Cincinnati perform, and it has left me smiling. Maybe it's the old high school teacher in me. My Cincinnati, which stands for Music for Youth, MY, in Cincinnati, is a free youth orchestra program in Price Hill under the auspices of the Price Hill Will. My Cincinnati is inspired by the El Sistema initiative in Venezuela and offers children in Price Hill the opportunity to learn violin, viola, cello, bass, flute, clarinet, and a chance to play in an orchestra. The medium is the music, but the goal is social change. To explore My Cincinnati, I am joined by Eddy Kwon, the director of My Cincinnati. He describes himself as a composer and performer, a community-based teaching artist. Eddy is a graduate of CCM. And sitting next to him is Jayden Thrasher, a fourth grader and a cellist. And then next to him is Trinity Thrasher, who is a fifth grader, and she plays the viola. Welcome to Newsmakers, all of you. It's really good to have you here this morning.
Thank you for having us.
So, Eddy, how many young people are taking part in this? And to take part in it, what do you have to do? How often does this happen? What's the pattern? What do you have to do to get started? And can anybody be part of this?
Sure. Well, the only requirement that we have for our program is that you live or go to school in Price Hill. So we have around 100 young musicians that come to our program building every day, the old historic Warsaw Avenue Firehouse in East Price Hill.
Right across from the old police
department.
That's right. Yeah.
And the library. So we meet there every single weekday after school. And our students are generally engaged in musical programming anywhere from 2 to 4 hours every single weekday.
So there's a real expectation here. Do you have to already be good at one of these instruments before you come in?
No way.
Do you have to know anything about them?
No, absolutely not. We don't require any prerequisites. So we provide all of the instruments and all of the instruction completely free of charge.
Okay.
And the one thing that we do require is that daily commitment. And part of that is because we know that when you're seeing the same colleagues and teachers every single day, that does a lot to build community, and that's what we are. We're a big musical family.
Trinity, what got you involved in this? Why did you start doing this? And tell me a little bit about, did you have a musical background before you decided to join the orchestra?
No, I didn't have a musical background, but one day me and my mom, we were walking, and it was about 2 years ago, and we saw people just standing outside. We were wondering what they were doing, so we stopped inside and we saw people playing instruments.
And did you know what instruments you wanted to play?
No.
So how did you end up, because you play cello, right?
Viola.
Viola, you play viola, okay. How did you end up playing viola?
Well, I didn't pick the instrument. It was another teacher that picked it.
Okay. Teacher picked it. Maybe the instrument picked you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Jayden, how about you? So have you been doing this for 2 years?
No, because when we were walking, I didn't want to do music because I wanted to play baseball.
Ah, yes.
So I changed my mind about a year later, and so I came and then I joined the program. And it's been really a nice experience for me.
And you didn't have any experience with music lessons before?
No.
And how do you think, have you learned a lot?
Yes, a lot.
And do you feel like you can really contribute to the orchestra at this point?
Yeah.
Good. How long, I mean, it's 4th grade, 5th grade, how young can people be when they get started in this?
Well, we have one program that's for kindergartners through 2nd grade.
Wow.
And that's a daily program as well. And we call that the Percussionistas. And that's foundational music skills, so a lot of percussion and drumming, songwriting, singing, feeling groove, learning pitch. And all of those musicians are expected to kind of graduate into our instrumental orchestra program. So our orchestra program is reserved for 2nd graders and up, and we have as old as seniors in high school this year.
And some of those, by the time they get to senior year in high school, they might be, not only because of your program, but they might be really engaged with music, maybe be students that gotten interested in SCPA. There could be all sorts of ways this is already flowered for high school students, right?
Absolutely. We've had a large group of our students, after joining My Cincinnati and gaining some foundational music skills, decide that they want to be engaged even further in music. So we've guided a group of students successfully to audition at the School of Creative and Performing Arts downtown or at Walnut Hills, and they're engaging in their own creative life.
Trinity, in learning the instrument, what kind of music are you playing? What are you playing? What we would know, I would know as classical? Are you playing some things that are really modern? I heard Eddy say composing, that some people are composing, that creating music as a group maybe. How's that work for you?
I mean, there's a lot of different music that we play. Maybe like everything that you might have said, and there's they never give us an easy piece. That's just
they never give you an easy piece.
Easy. It'll be a little bit challenging.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have a favorite piece right now, Jayden?
I do. It's by Shostakovich.
Okay.
It's called Symphony Number 8, I think.
And it's favorite because
it's at the beginning it's slow, and then the first movement's slow and sweet. And when you get to the second movement, it's just
energy.
Energy. And
wow.
That's exactly it.
Good.
You did a project a couple of years ago with what's called the Cincinnati Ambassador Ensemble, and there was some music that was recorded and can be found on your website. And this was really a case where the students, the players, were old enough and experienced enough with their music that you could go beyond just learning to play, and you were really ends up composing. But it's all grounded in their own experience. I mean, that's what's fascinating about this documentary. Seeing you work and seeing the members of this group work to get out what their expectations, their background is. So do you get to do that very often?
Well, that group we formed in 2014.
Right.
And that's a very special group that was kind of charged with this almost impossible task, is how do we use music and our talents and our experiences as artists? How do we use that to engage even more deeply with our communities, to engage with issues that are important to us? At that time, I didn't know the answer. And so I kind of posed it to this ensemble, and together we went on this adventure together. And what came out is really, really remarkable and really moving for all of us to have been a part of.
Have you two heard this and know this group? I want to take a look at just one tiny cut from this and just remind people that it's on your website.
Sure.
But this grows out, this little piece section I want to play, it grows out of the experience of one of the members of the group who was accused of stealing something from a local store. And it's sort of his trying to, and the whole group working that through. So let's take a listen and watch what's going on here.
Loving, outgoing, smart,
thief, 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 thief. So it's summer, and I'm 13, tired and happy from working all day in the sun. I'm part of safety.
Okay, Eddie, that was the young man who was on the bass there. It was his story. And that's why I wanted him express. It was when it got to the music after the words that are, that eventually merge into Thief. It really seemed to me it came out through him.
Absolutely. So that's the very beginning of the piece that we call Zayed's story. And Zayed's the name of our bass player. And the beginning of the piece is an open, free improvisation where I think he's really challenging, or channeling exactly what you're talking about, that energy of that moment. And that piece extends for another 7 or 8 minutes, and it kind of creatively retells the story of his experience shopping at the store for toothpaste and mouthwash and being accused of shoplifting, and trying to unpack that and trying to ask the really tough questions as to why him, why did he get accused?
So there's a lot of that with this group, and that's obvious in the documentary that you're working on here, that where you really get to talk with the young people and have them contribute their. How early can that start? Can that start back here with 4th and 5th graders?
Well, absolutely. One of the amazing things about our program is that we have really incredible teaching artists. And each of our teaching artists, they are not just skilled technicians. They're incredible instrumentalists, but more than anything, they have a deep love for community building and family. And they create these really, really meaningful relationships with our students and our families. And I hope that Trinity and Jayden and all of our students feel comfortable and safe enough to talk about any kind of issues that are important to them. Because in the end, that's what it's all about, is being a supportive family, being there for each other in these very weird and tough times.
Do you two find that the teachers that you have, that you interact with at My Cincinnati, are people that you can really talk with about what's going on in your lives and in community? Jayden, you shaking your head?
Yes. They're so supportive, and anything that we need help with, they just help us. And if we're having a tough time, they're just really nice people at My Cincinnati.
Trinity, there's 100 people participating right now from Price Hill in this. Do you feel that this can change your neighborhood? This actually changes the dynamic of your neighborhood?
I do, because like it changes the violence. I think like the sound of the music, like it could be played anywhere. It can be played like in front of My Cincinnati, and like just change, like, oh, I want to go to My Cincinnati, and just change the whole entire world.
Do you talk to friends of yours in the neighborhood about who maybe aren't members and talk about joining?
Yes.
Yeah?
Because I had a talent show at my school the other day, and people were like, where'd you learn that from? Because I play my cello. They was like, I want to get enrolled in the program. I was like, it's at My Cincinnati. It's at the old firehouse. They were like, I'm going to come.
Okay, that's great. Eddy, what's your capacity, realistically, not only in size of the building, but the number of teachers, instructors? It can't be endless, so what do you see? Are you at capacity now, or?
We, in our current location, are reaching our capacity.
Okay.
100 young musicians every single day is a lot. It's an amazing vibe, and anyone of your audience members are welcome to stop by and check us out while we're in action.
And we're going to give the address here in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We are kind of reaching our physical limit right now, but at the same time, anyone who knows Price Hill knows that there are so many young people. And every day after school, I look around and see so many kids that are not yet enrolled in My Cincinnati, and I just think that there's so much more impact that our program could have in the neighborhood.
I've got one last question. I'm going to give it to him, but how has this experience changed you as a musician, artist, player, human?
It's an impossible question to answer in less than a lifetime, because
we don't have that long.
It really has been fundamentally and completely transformative for me in so many ways, as a musician, as a teacher, as an adult, as someone who's able to be around so many amazing young people every day. Kind of reminds me about the meaning and the joy in life. So that is a invaluable gift that I don't think I could ever articulate.
I want to compliment both of you. The amount of learning that you've already experienced and the potential as 4th and 5th graders is unbelievable, because I'm going to talk about something in the next part of the show about people achieving in school. And here's a model for young people really achieving. So thank you for coming this morning. I want to let people know where they can come and listen. If you'd like to hear My Cincinnati perform, there are a lot of opportunities coming up. May 26th, My Cincinnati has an end-of-the-year concert at their home, 3120 Warsaw Avenue. Is that your address? I got that right?
Yes, that's our address.
Okay, so you could stop in and watch a practice as well. Or June the 2nd, My Cincinnati is with the opera at the zoo. Hey, is that a throwback or what? And June 7th, My Cincinnati side by side with the Cincinnati Chamber Orchestra at the Blue Ash Amphitheater. Find out details and more information about My Cincinnati at mycincinnatiorchestra.org. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the work you're doing to make this a really better community. And stay tuned. After the break, the representative from Southwest Ohio Board of Education will join me to discuss the struggle over graduation standards. But let's go out with another cut from the Cincinnati Ambassador Ensemble.
Well, snatch me up, use me up, spit me out. Well, snatch me up, use me up, spit me out. Well, snatch me up, use me up, spit me out. Well, snatch me up.
For 15 years, ever since President George W. Bush signed the No Child Left Behind Act, every state has worked to lift academic success of its students by raising expectations for high school graduation. Ohio has increased its standards in 2010 and adopted a new assessment tool in 2015. The crunch comes this time next year when the class of 2018 is ready to graduate. Superintendents around the state are predicting as many as 30% of the class will not achieve at the measure that will allow them to graduate. Welcome back. What to do about this looming collision of expectations and graduation is now before the Ohio School Board, and it has now worked and passed something on to the state legislature. And the school board met last week to debate this issue in light of a set of recommendations presented by the special Ohio Graduation Requirements Work Group. I am joined now by Patricia Bruns, the elected representative of Ohio to the Ohio Board for District 4 that covers Hamilton and Warren counties. Ms. Bruns taught for 30 years at the Northwest Local School District. She was elected to the Ohio Board in November 2014. Pat, welcome back.
Hi, welcome. Thank you very much.
So I've heard 30%. Is that a number that you think is realistic, or do you think that's overblowing the crisis, or how serious is this?
I don't think it's overblowing the crisis. Some of my superintendents are saying maybe as many as 50%. And they've been voicing this alarm since late last fall, which is what prompted a resolution by the state board in December to form the work group.
Okay, and who was on that work group? Was that were those members of the state board, or did you have outside people as well?
Oh yeah, that was a wide range of stakeholders, from the executive director of the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, superintendents, principals, classroom educators, counselors. The Ohio PTA had a representative, parent, and we actually also had a high school student from the Columbus area on the board.
That's
on
fun.
It. Yeah.
So there is a set of recommendations, and I've got some of those up. There's a lot of recommendations. They cover a lot of things. But if you look at this, you can see basically for the next year's seniors, this is sort of a temporary compromise, I guess. Complete all required seniors high school courses.
Yes, 20 courses.
Okay, so they'd have to have that. They'd have to complete them. They'd have to take all the end of course tests and retake certain tests at least once, right?
Yeah, if they score 1 point on it, they have to take it again in the fall of their senior year next year.
Okay.
But it won't be, we want to still collect the data. That's the reason for that.
I say you're collecting data
Yeah,
at that
we
point.
want- yeah.
And then you have a whole sort of laundry list of possibilities that add to that.
Yes.
You know, saying that next year's seniors would have to achieve 93% attendance, and that you might take into account some work study, et cetera, et cetera. So where do we stand on this? This has been sent on to the legislature.
It has. Senator Lehner is the chair of the Education Committee, and Andy Brenner is the House chair of the Education Committee. They're ex officio members of the state board. They come to most of our meetings, especially when there's critical conversations. They also attended all of the work group meetings, and we met twice a month, January through the end of March, late evening or late afternoon, early evening, to do this work and talk together about it. So they're well versed in it. I mean, they're not going to have to get up to speed on it, so to speak.
What's your expectation of what the legislature will do with this? And will they handle just a one-year situation, or will they try to address the larger issues?
There's been a lot of pushback from the community, parents, educators, both to the school board and to the legislature. I'm not going to predict what they're going to do, but I do know that there is an interest in addressing this particular issue and looking at it more long term. And I think another piece that is not well known yet is that Superintendent DeMario has put together a superintendent's assessment advisory committee. So they're going to look at the bigger picture of assessment in general. And he's also going to form a cadre of educators this summer that are going to look at how the Ohio learning standards are aligned to any assessments that we're giving to students.
So that's a lot of education-ese.
Yeah, well, to
think-
make sure we're doing, let's say it this way, to make sure that what we're testing is what we have expected teachers to be teaching and students to be learning. Does that help?
Any expectation, yes, but any expectation of the number of tests, the amount of testing that's going on, because that's the sort of the popular way it's seen, is going to be cut down, affected, and changed.
I could only hope that we could reduce that, and in fact, I think we're only one of 12 states that has end-of-course tests. The Every Student Succeeds Act that replaced the No Child Left Behind you mentioned only requires one high school test. We've recommended the ACT or SAT. That's a nationally normed test. Educators are very familiar with it. It would
Just use that?
And just use that. And that is also the recommendation of, I'm going to say, every educational association, from the Superintendent's State Association to, I'm going to say, almost, every superintendent in Ohio.
I have only about 30 seconds. Are you hopeful? Is the board working together? Is the legislature working together in a collaborative way at a time when so many government groups are split? On these sorts of issues, do you see actually people working together?
I absolutely do, all the way from our state superintendent through the legislature and our state school board as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for making Newsmakers a part of your Sunday morning. I want to make it clear that some of the dates I had for the My Cincinnati concerts were wrong. The next one is May 27th with the symphony. So I want to pick up on that. Join us again next week and have a great week. That's Dave.